I smiled. The business community in Seattle was small, and news traveled fast. By afternoon, everyone would know that David Chen had been bought out of his own company due to irreconcilable differences and breach of partnership trust. The details would be speculation, but the outcome was public record. Tell the reporter I'm not available for comment. As Jennifer left, I opened my laptop and began composing an email to all TechBridge employees. They deserved to know what was happening from me, not from office gossip or news reports. Dear team, effective immediately, TechBridge Solutions will be operating under new ownership structure. I will be serving as sole owner and CEO, while David Chen has departed the company to pursue other opportunities. This transition will not affect our current projects, client relationships, or your employment. In fact, I'm pleased to announce that we'll be moving forward with the planned expansion into artificial intelligence consulting, a project that will create new opportunities for growth and advancement within the company. I know change can be unsettling, but I want to assure you that TechBridge's commitment to innovation and excellence remains unchanged. If anything, this new structure will allow us to move more quickly and decisively in pursuing new opportunities. Please feel free to reach out to me directly with any questions or concerns. Best regards, Marcus Williams, CEO, TechBridge Solutions. As I hit send, my personal phone, a new number Sarah didn't have, rang. My sister Emily. Marcus, what the hell is going on? Sarah showed up at my apartment at midnight crying and screaming about you stealing her future. Did she mention that she's been sleeping with David for 6 months? Silence on the other end. Emily, she said you two grew apart. We grew apart because she was growing closer to my business partner in hotel beds. Oh, Marcus, I'm so sorry. Don't be, I'm not. How can you say that? You loved her. I looked out at the city, at the life I was rebuilding from the ground up. I loved who I thought she was. Turns out, I was married to a stranger who thought a 15-year relationship could be ended with a text message, and that she was entitled to half of everything I'd built, including a company she helped destroy. But the company is mine. It was always mine. I just forgot that for a while. 6 months later, TechBridge had not only survived the transition, but thrived. Our AI consulting division had landed 3 major contracts, and I'd hired 5 new developers. The office David had occupied was now a collaboration space where the team could brainstorm and innovate. I never heard from David again, though I learned through mutual acquaintances that he'd moved to Portland and was working for a small software firm. Sarah had moved in with him, and according to Emily, they were figuring things out. As for me, I was learning to be single again at 38. It was harder than I'd expected. 15 years of marriage had created habits and routines that took time to unlearn, but it was also liberating in ways I hadn't anticipated. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday in March. Sarah got the house in Bellevue. I'd bought a downtown condo with views of the water and half of our other marital assets. But she got nothing from TechBridge Solutions, because by the time the divorce was final, my ownership of the company was completely separate from any marital property claims. That evening, I was having dinner alone at a restaurant in Pike Place. Market when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I hope you're happy. You destroyed everything, Sarah. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed my final reply to my ex-wife. I didn't destroy anything. I just refused to let you and David destroy me. There's a difference. I hope you find what you're looking for, but you won't find it in my company or my life. Take care, Sarah. I blocked the number and finished my dinner. Outside, Seattle was coming alive with evening energy. The Space Needle glowed against the darkening sky, and the sound of live music drifted from a nearby club. I walked through the market, past vendors closing up their stalls, past couples sharing late dinners, past life happening all around me. For the first time in months, I felt like I was part of it again. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. The Microsoft meeting is confirmed for Thursday at 2 p.m. They want to discuss the AI project. This could be the big one, boss. I smiled and typed back, perfect, let's show them what TechBridge can do. As I walked back to my condo, I thought about the text message that had started it all. Sarah's cold, dismissive words that had reduced our marriage to a business transaction. She'd wanted to end things cleanly, efficiently, without mess or emotion. In the end, she got exactly what she asked for. Chapter 3. The confrontation David's office was across the hall from mine, with an identical view of downtown Seattle. We'd designed the space that way, equal partners in every sense. His door was closed when I arrived at work the next morning. Unusual, since he was typically an early riser who liked to get in before the rest of the staff. I knocked. "Come in." He was sitting behind his desk, but something was different. His usually immaculate appearance was disheveled, his black hair uncombed, his shirt wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes. He looked up when I entered, and I saw guilt written across his face like a confession. "Marcus." He stood up awkwardly. "I was hoping we could talk." "Were you?" I closed the door behind me and took a seat across from his desk. The same chair where we'd planned our expansion into the Bay Area market, where we'd celebrated landing Microsoft as a client, where we'd become millionaires on paper when Amazon's subsidiary expressed interest in acquiring us. "I know you know," he said quietly. "About you sleeping with my wife?" He flinched. "It wasn't supposed to happen. We were working late on the Henderson account, and Sarah brought dinner and—" "Spare me the details." I pulled out the document Patricia had helped me locate, the original partnership agreement. "Do you remember this?" David's face went pale as he recognized the yellow legal paper. "Marcus, that was 8 years ago. We were kids. That document has no legal standing now." "Actually, it does. I had 3 lawyers review it yesterday. It's legally binding, properly notarized, and supersedes our later incorporation agreements as the foundational partnership document." "What are you saying?" I set the paper on his desk, pointing to the clause I'd highlighted in yellow. "I'm saying you violated the fundamental trust of our partnership. You engaged in actions detrimental to our business relationship. This document gives me the right to either buy you out or dissolve the partnership with assets reverting to their original contributor." David picked up the document with shaking hands. "You can't do this. I've put 8 years of my life into this company, and I put in my marriage. Marcus, please, we can work this out. Sarah and I, we can end things. You and I can go back to how it was. You think this is about Sarah?" I stood up, anger finally breaking through the numbness I'd felt for days. "This is about trust, David. This is about you pretending to be my friend while you were screwing my wife in hotel rooms. This is about you sitting in partnership meetings, helping me plan my future while you were planning to steal half my life. I never meant for it to go this far, but it did." I picked up the document. "My lawyers are filing the dissolution papers this afternoon. You have 72 hours to clear out your office. What about the employees? What about our clients? TechBridge will continue operating under my sole ownership. I'll be offering positions to all current employees. As for clients, well, they contracted with TechBridge Solutions, not with David Chen." He slumped back in his chair. "This will destroy me financially. My house, my savings, everything is tied up in this company." "You should have thought about that before you decided to destroy my marriage." I turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Oh, and David, when Sarah comes looking for her 50% of my share of the company in the divorce proceedings, she's going to find out that I now own 100% of it. And since I'm dissolving our partnership due to your betrayal, and since the company's assets are reverting to me under our original agreement, there's no community property for her to claim." David's face went white. "You can't do that to her. Watch me." Chapter 4. The Reply. 2 weeks later, I was back in Patricia's office, but this time I was smiling. The dissolution had gone through faster than expected. David's lawyer had advised him not to fight it once they'd reviewed the original partnership agreement and consulted with ethics attorneys about his affair with a partner's spouse. "Sarah's lawyer is requesting an emergency hearing," Patricia said, sliding a stack of papers across her desk. "They're claiming you deliberately restructured your assets to avoid the divorce settlement." "Can they prove that?" "They can try, but..." The partnership dissolution was based on documented breach of trust that predates the divorce filing. The timing might look suspicious, but the legal foundation is solid. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "You bastard. I know what you did with the company. We need to talk." I showed the message to Patricia. She raised an eyebrow. "Well, are you going to talk to her?" I thought about it for a moment, then typed my reply. "Talk? Like how you talked to me about wanting a divorce? I think I'll stick to communicating through lawyers. But since you prefer text messages for important life events, here's one for you. Attached is the deed to TechBridge Solutions. As you can see, David no longer owns any part of the company he thought was his. Turns out betrayal has consequences. Who knew? Marcus, I attached a PDF of the dissolution documents and the new corporate filing showing me as sole owner, then hit send. My phone rang immediately. "Sarah." I declined the call and turned to Patricia. "She'll call back." It rang again and again. "You?" "No," Patricia said, watching my phone buzz incessantly on her desk. "In 30 years of practicing divorce law, I've never seen someone turn the tables quite this completely." "I learned something important these past few weeks," I said. "When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Sarah showed me she's the kind of person who ends a 15-year marriage with a text message. David showed me he's the kind of friend who'll sleep with your wife while shaking your hand in business meetings." "And what did you show them?" I picked up my still buzzing phone and turned it off. "That I'm the kind of person who reads the fine print." The next morning, I stood in my office, now truly my office, watching the sunrise paint Seattle's skyline. In shades of gold and pink, the rain had stopped, and for the first time in weeks, the city looked hopeful. Jennifer knocked and entered with my morning coffee and a stack of messages. 15 calls from Mrs. Williams," she said, "and David Chen has been trying to reach you since 6 a.m. Tell them both that all communication needs to go through my attorney." "Also," Jennifer hesitated, "there's a reporter from the Seattle Business Journal downstairs, something about the TechBridge restructuring." Chapter 1. The text that changed everything. The rain drummed against the floor-to-ceiling windows of my corner office on the 42nd floor of the Wells Fargo Center in downtown Seattle. The city sprawled below me, shrouded in the typical Pacific Northwest gray that matched my mood perfectly. At 38, I thought I had life figured out, a successful tech consulting firm, a beautiful wife, and what I believed was a solid marriage. My phone buzzed on the mahogany desk, interrupting my review of quarterly reports. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. I smiled, expecting her usual afternoon check-in. "Marcus, I want a divorce. I've already contacted a lawyer. Don't make this difficult." "Sarah." I stared at the screen, reading the message 3 times before the words actually registered. 15 years of marriage. 15 years reduced to a text message with the emotional depth of a grocery list. My hands trembled as I set the phone down. Outside, the rain intensified, and I could hear the distant hum of traffic from Spring Street below. The office, suddenly, felt cavernous, the awards on the walls and family photos mocking me with their frozen smiles. I picked up the phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. "Sarah, it's me. We need to talk. You can't just, this isn't how you end a marriage. Call me back." But she didn't. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. My assistant Jennifer knocked twice, but I told her to reschedule. Everything. I sat there as the Seattle skyline transformed from grey to black, the Space Needle's lights twinkling in the distance like a beacon of normalcy in a world that had just tilted off its axis. Around 8 p.m., I finally drove home to our house in Bellevue. The 3-story Craftsman we'd bought 5 years ago sat dark except for a single light in the master bedroom. Sarah's BMW was in the driveway, but something felt different, final. I walked through the front door, and the silence hit me like a physical force. Usually, Sarah would be in the kitchen, classical music playing softly while she prepared dinner or worked on her laptop. Tonight, nothing. "Sarah," I called out. Her footsteps echoed from upstairs, deliberate and measured. She appeared at the top of the staircase, her auburn hair pulled back in a severe ponytail. Wearing jeans and a sweater I'd bought her last Christmas, she looked beautiful and distant, like a painting behind glass. I meant what I said in the text, she said without preamble. "Why?" The word came out hoarse. "What happened to us?" She descended the stairs slowly, each step echoing in the foyer. "Nothing happened, Marcus. That's the problem. We've been roommates for 3 years, strangers for the last 2. We can fix this. We can go to counseling, take a vacation. I don't want to fix it." Her voice was steady, resolved. "I want out." I noticed the suitcases by the door then, 2 large ones I recognized from our honeymoon in Italy. The sight of them made my chest tighten. "There's someone else, isn't there?" Sarah's composure cracked for just a moment. A flush crept up her neck and she looked away. This isn't about anyone else." But I saw it, the tell she'd had since college, touching her ear when she lied. "Who is it?" "Marcus, please." Don't. Who is it, Sarah?" She closed her eyes. David Chen, my business partner. The man who'd been my best friend since we'd started TechBridge Solutions 8 years ago in my garage. The man who'd been best man at our wedding. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. I sat down hard on the bottom step of the staircase, the world spinning around me. "How long?" 6 months. "Jesus, Sarah. 6 months?" She picked up her suitcases. "I'm staying at Emily's for now. My lawyer will be in touch." "Wait." I stood up, reaching for her arm, but she stepped back. "The company, David and I built that together. If you two are, what happens to, that's between you and David." She opened the front door, letting in the cold October air. "Goodbye, Marcus." And she was gone, leaving me alone in a house that suddenly felt like a mausoleum of broken dreams. Chapter 2. The Discovery. 3 sleepless nights later, I sat in the law office of Patricia Hernandez, Seattle's most ruthless divorce attorney, according to online reviews. Her office overlooked Elliott Bay, and I watched the ferries cut through the choppy water while she reviewed the papers Sarah's lawyer had sent over. "She's asking for 50% of all marital assets," Patricia said, her voice crisp and professional. She was in her 50s, grey-haired, with the kind of sharp eyes that probably terrified opposing counsel. "Including your share of TechBridge Solutions." "That's impossible. David and I own the company 50-50. "Actually," Patricia slid a document across her desk. "According to Washington state law, any business assets acquired during marriage are considered community property. Your wife is entitled to half of your 50% stake." I felt sick. So David would end up with 75% control. "Unless you can prove the company predates the marriage or that marital funds weren't used in its development." I thought about the early days, working from home, Sarah bringing us coffee and sandwiches during late-night coding sessions, her encouragement when clients seemed impossible to find. She'd been part of TechBridge's foundation, even if she'd never been an official employee. There has to be another way. Patricia leaned back in her leather chair. "There might be. Tell me about the company's formation. Who came up with the initial concept? Who provided the seed money?" I spent the next hour explaining how David and I had met in graduate school at University of Washington, how we'd developed our proprietary client management software, how we'd bootstrapped the company with credit cards and determination, and the initial incorporation papers. I have them at home. Bring them, everything, every document, every contract, every financial record from day one. That evening, I drove to my house. It still felt strange to think of it as just my house. And spent hours in my home office, pulling together 8 years of corporate documents. Tax returns, incorporation papers, partnership agreements, loan documents, client contracts. It was past midnight when I found it, buried in a manila folder labeled Legal Misc, a document I'd forgotten about, dated 3 months before David. And I officially incorporated TechBridge. It was a simple agreement, handwritten on legal pad paper and notarized. The kind of thing 2 graduate students might draft when they had an idea but no money for proper lawyers. But it was legitimate, signed by both David and me. The agreement stated that I, Marcus Williams, as the originator of the core software concepts and methodologies that would become TechBridge Solutions, would retain full intellectual property, rights to said concepts, with David Chen serving as a development partner and eventual co-owner, pending successful launch and profitability. But there was a clause, one I'd insisted on after a business law class that discussed partnership disputes. A clause that stated, if either partner engaged in actions detrimental to the business relationship or violated the trust fundamental to the partnership, the wronged party could exercise an option to buy out the offending partner at fair market value, or alternatively, dissolve the partnership with assets reverting to their original contributor. David had signed it willingly. We'd been friends, trusted each other completely. The clause seemed like legal paranoia at the time. Now, it might be my salvation. I called Patricia at 7 a.m., probably waking her up. I found something, I said.